In this video, I'm going to teach you the phase 4 workout for bent arm strength on Monday for the foundation movement system. These are the first workouts where you've moved from the foundations phase into the progressions phase, and we really start taking it up a notch. Make sure you stick around right to the end so that you learn all the techniques to do this workout on your own. All that and more coming up.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
All right, now we're on to the 45-degree face-to-wall handstand. This is where you're actually, for the first time, you're starting to get up into a handstand position. So it's starting to get a little bit exciting. Now, there's a couple of things that you need to have before you do this. The first is that we're going to go through some shoulder strength, some of the wrist strengthening. You've done all of this before in the warm-up, but we're now actually going to be doing this as a strengthening exercise. And this is going to be a bonus to the program. This isn't written anywhere in the program. You need to find the time to do this yourself. So after you've done your one set of the wrist warm-up and everything that you do that you've been doing in the program, the wrist circles, we're then going to go into the strengthening. Now I want to emphasize the importance of what this stuff is doing for you. So far you've only done it as a warm-up. Now we're doing it as strength training. So the first knuckle push-up, index finger facing forward, elbows turned in, thumb off the ground. Now what you want to be working towards is being able to do this on your feet like I am here. So I'm on my feet, my elbows are in, I'm coming up and then down. Now if any of you try this, film yourself, have a look and see if your elbows are staying in like mine are there. It took me a lot of work to be able to do that. When I first tried, as soon as I even tried to go up on my knuckles, my elbows just went out like that. And if you're doing that, you don't have the strength in your wrists yet for a good handstand. So how do you get there? Well, first thing, you're going to go back onto your knees to do them. Then you'll do eccentric, so you'll come up on your knees, then go on your feet and go down slowly. And then after that, you'll go onto your feet. The next one, wrist push-ups, it's the same thing. You want to try and get on your feet. Fingertip push-ups, no real change there. To be honest, all of the other exercises, it's exactly the way I've taught it in the warm-up. But what I want to talk to you now is about the programming, the volume. You want to do this either 2 or 3 times a week for 3 sets of 10 reps. So you're doing it like a proper strength training protocols. The warm-up, the stretching, you only do once, but then the 5 exercises that you do for strengthening, so the 5th one being this one here, we want to do 3 sets of 10 reps of all 3 of those, all 5 of those exercises. You take no break between each exercise. You basically just come up, shake your hands out for about 5 or 10 seconds, then go to the next one. Once you've done a full set, you can rest for 30 seconds, and then you just go through again. And if you're not doing that 2 or 3 times a week, so 2 times would be Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday, or Wednesday, Saturday, whatever. 3 times would be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. If you're not doing that, for I'd say 3 to 6 months, your wrists are not going to be strong enough to do handstands, and you're going to really struggle with it. The next thing that you need to be able to do is have good shoulder flexion, which means you need to be able to get your arms up above your head. Otherwise, you're going to run into a lot of problems in your shoulders. So what you want to be doing here is bringing your arms right up to the wall and being able to touch the wall whilst your lower back is flat on the wall. So you can't really see it because I'm wearing this shirt and I've got this mic on, but what I'm doing is I'm sucking my stomach in so that my lower back pushes against the wall. So my entire back from my head to my shoulders is against the wall. My feet are together off the wall just a little bit. And now from here, I'm going to keep my arms completely straight and lift my arms up until they touch the wall. Now if you're not getting that, if your lower back comes off the wall to make that happen, or if you're only getting to here, you don't yet have the shoulder flexibility to be working on a handstand. And if you try and work on a handstand, I guarantee you're going to run into problems in your shoulders. That's a real ego hit for a lot of people. People want to jump straight into handstands, and it's one of those calisthenics moves that people are really, really keen on. But when you look at the positioning of a handstand, it is you have to be able to get your hands above your head. It's full on the body. You can see the angle that my hands need to be at If I can't get there, the only way I'm going to be able to do it is to arch my back, and that puts an excessive amount of pressure in the shoulder and the upper back, and you do not want to be doing that. So you must be able to develop that overhead shoulder flexibility. Now, if you can't get your hands into that position, make sure that you watch the overhead flexibility video that's in the additional content for high achievers. You must really master that stuff, and you want to make that your, a big part of your life. That needs to be, that's a daily thing, doing that stuff. So all of that said, you've got your shoulder conditioning, your shoulder flexibility right, you've got your wrist conditioning there. Now we're ready to work on the 45-degree face-to-wall handstand. So Richard's going to set up with his hands out quite a distance from the wall. He's going to bring one leg up and then the other one, and he's going to get into his position in his own time. And now let's push those shoulders and head back as hard as you can, Richie, pushing the feet in towards there a bit more, bum in a bit more. Good, nice. You can go on your toes, Richie. Go. Richard hasn't done this one for a little while, so there we go. Yeah, so look at that. What we're trying to get as best as we can is a line from the heels down to the hands as best as you can. So it's pretty full on. If you can come down now, Richie. It's actually a really full on position to do, because when you get up there and you're trying to hold where you push your shoulders through like that. So I'm trying to avoid being out like this. I'm trying to push my shoulders in like that, and at the same time to hold the posterior pelvic tilt, so to suck the stomach in and to tense the glutes. That's what you're looking for. Those are the cues. So flexing the shoulders as much as you can, pushing your head towards the wall and creating that posterior pelvic tilt, so as best as you can, you get this straight line. So when you film yourself, incorrect, correct. All right? And that is the 45-degree face-to-wall handstand. Now, between every set of your handstand training from here on, so for the 45-degree face-to-wall handstand, face-to-wall, anything that we do from here, we're going to be doing a handstand hang between sets. So basically what you're doing is you're going to hold your handstand for as long as you can, in this case the 45-degree face-to-wall handstand, or whatever progression it is that you're doing, and you'll do that for as long as you can, up to a minute, and then you'll jump off the wall. You're going to come and do the handstand hang, but the time between when you end your handstand, the rest that you have, including the handstand hang, that time before, when you end the handstand before you go back to the next one, will only be 1 minute. You do not want to take longer than that. So the handstand hang, I've got to go to a bar that's high enough that my feet can easily be off the ground. You'll notice that my hands are very close together. I'm going to do a dead hang, so completely relaxed, and I'm going to look up just enough so that I can see the bar. So I'm not looking like this at the bar. I'm trying to keep my spine in as much alignment as I can. Now I'm going to point my toes, tense my quads, suck my stomach in and tense my bum. So what I'm doing there is my shoulders are completely relaxed, my upper body is completely relaxed, but I'm drawing my belly button in, tensing my glutes to create a posterior pelvic tilt, keeping my knees straight and pointing my toes. So basically from here down, I'm doing exactly what I do in the front body line, so that I'm basically, my body is, it's this principle of a push-pull. When you're in a handstand, you're pushing and gravity is compressing your spine. When you do a handstand hang, you're pulling and gravity is decompressing your spine. So it's really important to always approach your training with a push-pull perspective on things. Every push has a pull and every pull has a push to it. And that is the handstand hang. All right, now we're on to ring pull-ups, and we're going to use a neutral grip for this one, and the cues are pretty much the same as for every other pull-up that we've done so far, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on explaining this. I'm not going to insult your intelligence. So Richie, let's just demonstrate a couple, please. And what you're going to focus on here is depression and retraction. Beautiful, look at that. Scapular depression and retraction, lifts his chest right up. Okay, so when you do this, it's really, thanks Richie, honestly, I'm not going to spend too much time explaining this because we've gone through it so much in the last couple of videos. Just think, when you do it from here, the first thing that happens is you retract, and then as the scapula you depress, so the scapula comes down, and then as it gets to the bottom of depression, it starts to retract. That's going to lift the chest up, And then from there, we're just pulling the elbows right down to the ribs. The cues for you to think of when you do a good pull-up like this is you think of the scapula pulling down and in, so depression and retraction, and then from there, what you actually think of is the elbow coming to the ribs, and you think of using the lat, this big muscle here. So your mind is in the lat. It's very rare that in an exercise we cue by saying think of using this muscle, but the pull-up is one of those rare occasions we really think of using the lat. Let's just do 2 more, please, Richie. And 1 more. So you can really see that depression and retraction. Look at that muscle development from the depression and retraction. Awesome. Thanks, mate. And that is the ring pull-up. All right, now we're on to the box headstand push-up. We're starting to really move along with the calisthenics training here. This is another one of those movements that so many people take for granted and think it's easy, especially the guys. You want to lift with your ego. You want to get up to that wall headstand push-up and the wall-supported handstand push-up. Trust me, this is plenty hard, this one, if you do it right. So let's get Richie to set up. The height of the box is completely determined on your strength and your size. If you're not as strong or a shorter person, use a lower box. And if you're stronger, you can even go higher. You can have your feet right up at the height of your hips. So at the top of the movement, he's going to push his head and shoulders right back to the box. Beautiful. Look at that shoulder flexion. From here, he's going to bring his head down here into a diamond shape. And then he's going to push right back up and just do 1 more rep. I want you to focus on how his elbows are not flaring out. So the head comes forward, elbows are staying in. At the top of the movement, full shoulder flexion. Thanks, Richie. Take a break. So the point is to think about elbows squeezing in at all costs. Film yourself. If your elbows are coming out, it's too hard for you, and you either need to work on eccentric repetitions. If you don't understand how to do that, watch the video on eccentric reps. So if you can do a good pike push-up, but you can't do these well, you need to work eccentrics, okay? Which means you'll go down as slow as you can, squeezing the elbows in, then you'll let your feet go to the ground, straighten your arms up, bring your feet back up there, and then do another one where you're going down. But if your elbows are coming out at all, it means it's too hard for you. If you can't get back up without good technique, it means it's too hard for you. And that means you work on eccentric reps. And that is the box headstand push-up. All right, now we're on to the ring wide rows, and a really common mistake that people make with this one is they set up in a pronated grip. Now at ultimate level of strength with this exercise, that is what you're aiming for, but honestly, it is so much harder than what people give credit for. When you're doing calisthenics and gymnastic strength, it is critical that you focus on your form and technique. And that is one of the big things that people love about the Foundation Movement System online coaching, is that we really teach correct technique. We don't just say, hey, grab the rings and pull like this and do sets of 10 reps. There's not much value in that. We want to make sure that you guys really understand what you're doing. So I want you to pay close attention to the technique for this. So Richard's going to set up, and he's going to start in a neutral grip. It's going to look exactly like he was doing a normal ring row. So Richie's set up with his body a little bit below horizontal, neutral grip. Let's do a couple of reps. Nice, Richie. So you can see what he's doing. He is pulling his hands and his elbows wider than for a normal ring row, but they're not going ridiculously wide. We're focusing on keeping the scapula depressed. Okay? His arms aren't coming up to this horizontal position that so many people do, as long as the elbows and hands are going wider than for a normal ring row. Thanks, mate. That's what we're looking for. So if you look at it from this angle here, a ring row is going to be like this. A ring wide row is when I try to pull my elbows that way as I'm pulling back. The hands will turn just a little bit, and the width that your hands go is completely dictated by your strength. If you're ridiculously strong at this, you will be able to get your arms right out there, and the elbows will come almost up to shoulder height like that. But for most people, that's way too much. So even just going from a normal ring row here to a ring row where you come out just a little bit off the center line, that's still considered a wide ring row, and that's going to be acceptable. And what you're looking for here, scapular depression at all times. Of course, your scapula should be retracting through the movement. So as you come back, the scapula is going to retract, and then as you come forward, the scapula is going to protract at the end. Of course, that should be happening. But the thing that we're really looking for here, because you can protract and retract whilst your shoulders are elevated, you can be doing that. You've got to make sure that's not happening. We've got to keep the shoulders down in depression whilst you're doing it. And then also draw your stomach in, keep your glutes switched on so you've got a really nice straight line. And that is the ring wide row. Now we're on to the diamond push-up. So it's called a diamond push-up because of the shape you make with your hands under your chest. And Rich is just going to do a couple. What we're really looking for here is scapular depression. Everything else about the push-up is the same as a regular push-up. So we want that really nice posterior pelvic tilt, straight line from the head down to the feet, and bringing the chest all the way down to the hands. It's quite a lot harder than a normal push-up. So besides that, thanks Richie, it's pretty much the same. Just put your hands in the shape of a diamond, keep the scapula depressed, keep the abs engaged, glutes engaged for a posterior pelvic tilt. When you film yourself, get as best as you can, get a straight line from your head to your feet, and that is the diamond push-up. 3 progression for the L-sit. This is where it's starting to get pretty challenging now. Richard's going to demonstrate. Basically, when you do the L-sit, you just need to bring your feet to level with the ground, so parallel with the legs, fully depressing the shoulders with no protraction or retraction. Nothing too complicated about that. Jump off, Richard. Now, the keys with the L-sit really, just like the last progressions, it's just about depressing your shoulders and no protraction or retraction. So the only difference here is by having both legs out in front as opposed to the single leg L-sit, there's more leverage, more of a mechanical disadvantage. Now what we're going to do is teach you how to do compression strength. Compression strength is literally the ability to be able to compress your chest and knees together, and it's critical for a lot of gymnastics work later on, and as we use some of these gymnastics moves like the press to handstand, you're going to need to know this. So the first thing we're going to do is Richard's going to do a hamstring stretch. So he's going to pull his toes back and he's going to grab onto his toes like that. If you want to increase the stretch, what you can do is actually grab with your hands around the side of the feet, bring the feet together and turn the toes out, pull back as hard as you can. So pull your hands back, Richie, that's it. And yeah, that's getting a wicked hamstring stretch there for Richard. Now if you want to make it even more intense, put this down here, and what this does is, now what I want you to do when you grab on, forcefully pull the toes back as hard as you can. You're feeling that more in the calves now? Yeah, it's full on. That gets in the calves, back of the knees, and the hamstrings. You're going to hold that for 30 seconds. Once you've finished, you will rest for 10 seconds, and then you're going to reach forward as far as you can go. As a beginner, you put your fingers on the ground like this. More advanced, you put your palms on the ground. And Richard, just do a couple of reps for us. What he's doing here, just relax now. So you don't have many reps to do with this because of how much it fatigues you. You're trying to tense the quads as hard as you can, and then you're not thinking about lifting the toes off the ground. What you're thinking of doing is lifting your knees towards your chest. When you think of lifting your knees to your chest, that's going to help you to not lean back. If you just think of lifting your toes off the ground, often people lean back, which is what we don't want. So just do a couple more reps, Richie. Knees up to the chest, awesome, okay. And you want to aim for probably 10 reps like that. So what you want to do is, at this level with the L-sit, you want to be doing a 50-50 work time with the L-sit and the compression strength. So you do one set of L-sit, one set of compression strength, like that for that part of the workout. And that is the L-sit. Now we're on to the prone scapular control drills. Prone refers to laying face down on the ground. And what we're going to do is depress the scapula, and then Richie's going to raise his hands 5 centimeters off the ground, or 2.5 inches for the Americans, for 5 seconds. So watch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now down, 2, 3, 4, 5, keeping the hands off the ground. Up, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just keep that tempo, Richie. The whole time from here down is completely relaxed. If you start feeling tension in your lower back or your glutes or your legs, you need to stop, relax, reset, and then go again. So it's down for 5, up for 5, and you're aiming for 10 reps. This is murder. It is very, very hard if you do it properly, keeping the scapula depressed. If you feel it in your upper traps, look at that. Richard's upper trap is completely relaxed. There's no tension in it at all, and that's exactly what we want. We do not want tension in the upper trap. You want to be feeling it in the lower and mid trap and in the rhomboids as well. And that is the prone scapular control drill. Now we're on to the ring circles. This is a scapular control drill. So what the number one thing here is that Richie's shoulders are protracted and we're not trying to depress, but we're definitely not elevating, okay? So from here, let's do a few reps. It's very important that the rings touch at the top and bottom. The bigger the circle, the harder it is, okay? So, awesome, Richie. But it's pretty simple exercise. It's very hard, but it's pretty simple. As long as you keep the shoulders protracted, and of course, if you wanted to make it even harder, now bring your feet further back, Richie. That makes it much harder. So now the circle will become smaller. You can see already it was a little bit more of a challenge for him straight away. Okay, thanks, Richie. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. We release instructional videos and workouts every week on Monday in Australia or Sunday in America and Europe. And if there's any videos that you'd like us to make for you, if you've got any questions, any tutorials you'd like to see, please leave a comment. And we've actually now officially launched our FMS online training program. We haven't actually started advertising it yet, but it has had a soft launch. If you're interested in getting on board, it is an extremely low price. We're doing an introductory offer. It's only $39 US a month. You can get access to all of our training content, the program templates, everything that you need to do in order to follow the Foundation Movement System program online. And you'll also get access to our Movement Mastermind private Facebook group where you can work with me and my team and our senior members directly. You can upload your videos, we'll critique you, give you instruction, unlimited amounts, whatever you need, and you'll also learn from us by seeing the stuff that we're doing ourselves. If you're interested in that, please click the link in the description of this video, and we'll see you in the tribe.
Okay, action.
Now we're on to the 45 degree, actually, you know what? Jump out. Okay, so,
You need to be.
yeah, just hold it in your hands, maybe, because I'm going to go down here. Below a horizontal line. He's going to elevate his hips, and now from here he's going to do, you know what? Let's stop, Richie. We've set these up too.